And to discuss his latest work, Catharsis, a work that reflects the quiet storm within us, all we have. So I am presenting this conversation, Ms. Shreya Gupta. I'm a central government employee and curator of Delhi Lit Fest. Thank you. Catharsis. I thought, is I'm audible? I thought, is catharsis so important for literary discussion? Then I go to the Amazon and saw a review that a reviewer says, this book may be the food you were looking for your soul. And when I read the poems, I found, in this time of change and challenge, his poems reminds us that poetry can be both deeply personal and universally uplifting. Catharsis invites conversation about how art can heal the wounds inflicted by reason, and about the role of the poet in commenting on society. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Yeah.
As we discuss catharsis and read your poems today, first of all, I would like to ask you the meaning of catharsis.
Well, at the outset, let me extend my heartfelt thanks to Delhi Literature Festival for giving me this opportunity to talk literature and connect with the literature lovers here. Coming to Catharsis, Catharsis is the title of my latest poetry collection. And catharsis, as a word, first I will explain to you the literal meaning of catharsis. It is like release of the strong emotions, that what you call purgation. And after, like purification of the inner soul, once those feelings come out of you. That is what catharsis is. For me, catharsis is very special, because it doesn't only explain the poetry in this particular collection, it explains my entire poetic sensibility. I will illustrate the meaning of catharsis in terms of the definition of poetry by Robert Frost, how emotions assume thoughts and thoughts, assume words. So, to begin with, a poet unconsciously slips into a very melancholic mood. You just don't know, you can't explain how it happens to you. And after that melancholic mood has been set in, you feel your entire sensibility is overcast with certain emotions. And at that stage, those emotions are very nebulous, you can say. And it takes a little while before those emotions start assuming some concrete thoughts, and ultimately they flow out of the poet in the form of words. So I enjoy not only the stage that happens after the stage that sets in after the release of those emotions, that creative pleasure. I enjoy that melancholic mood also. Victor Hugo says, melancholy is not sadness. Melancholy is the happiness of being sad. So for me, my artistic sensibility absolutely resonates, or you can say catharsis absolutely resonates with my entire artistic sensibility, my literary sensibility, my, as a writer. And one of my favorite, this I have written somewhere, and I keep talking about it, that catharsis is the eternal language of my bliss. So I really enjoy, not only I enjoy the creation of the poem, I enjoy the entire journey of the poem, right from the stage of that melancholy setting in, and finally my poem taking a concrete shape. So catharsis captures my entire poetic experience.
So before actually we go into catharsis, I got to know that you have started writing poetry in Hindi.
Yeah, catharsis I have explained. I think you will enjoy more when I explain to you catharsis in the form of a poem, what it means to you, me. And what uncertainties life throws up, and such, certain uncertainties are so beautiful. I happen to be translating my first Hindi English novel as Boys Become Men into Hindi, and that Arohi came out, last year. And that somehow, that entire literary journey, that process of translation triggered Hindi in me, because I had almost, equal felicity with that language also. So after that, I unconsciously, started writing some poetry also in Hindi. So my first poem, you won't believe, my first poem is a very short poem that talks about my love for the mother tongue. And the second poem, explores the theme of catharsis. So I would love to recite that particular poem, ki how it happens, what happens to a poet before a poem is born. So this poem is titled Catharsis. Hindi equivalent is Rechan, but somehow any Hindi equivalent doesn't capture the entire essence. So here goes the poem. संजीदगी फिर दबे पांव घेर आई है, संजीदगी फिर दबे पांव घेर आई है, गम के बादल स्याह हो चले जहन के फलक पर, फिर से इनका उमड़ना घुमड़ना, वही उथल पुथल, वही बेबस बेचैनी, वही शोर भरी खामोशी. पर मुझे इल्म है इस फिरदौसी फिराक का, इंतजार है बादल बरसने का, छमछम की मधुर धुन फिजाओं में घोलते हुए, मुझे यकीन है बारिश के बाद इंद्रधनुष के सातों रंग आसमां में बिखरने का. So this is what happens. It starts, the journey starts from sanzidagi, that is melancholy, and ultimately happiness, the symbol of happiness, creative pleasure, is the Indradhanush, stretching out in the sky.
How does Mukul Kumar use imagery or metaphor in the poems? Can you recall a vivid image that stood out, and what do you think it represents?
Yeah, for an artist, I think imageries, similes, and metaphors, they are your accessories. Without them, a piece of art cannot be created. Whatever you are doing, you are writing a poem or you are painting or, whatever. And nature is the eternal inspiration for an artist, So I believe that many of your imageries, unconsciously, you draw from, nature. And here I would like to recite a poem, how certain imageries capture your sensibility. Like it is actually born of an actual sight. I happen to be having a breakfast, in the wintry sun in my lawns, and I happen to be, my eyes, unconsciously, they get gravitated to the beautiful dahlias, lined along. So a poem has come out of it. I will just recite this poem. A dahlia of 45. A dahlia of 45. Nature never comes to me in surfeit. Nature never comes to me in surfeit, even a transient, tranquil stare at a flower, a croton, or a creeper comes to me as a wondrous treat. As the spectacles that meet my eyes, and the actions that find my hands, day in and day out, threaten me with a sense of hubbub and humdrum. Nature promises an instant wonder, the surreal immanent in the real, the prodigious in the prosaic, a costless access to the soul as it swifts through the wearied eyes. Hence the winter breakfast in my lawns. Hence the winter breakfast in my lawns, wallowing in the wrap of the warm sun, it has told me the life cycle of the dahlias to loosen flames from its spawns. Dahlias of every kind is there. Dahlia at the stage of the bud and a dahlia fully blossomed. And in between various dahlias, my eyes observe various, stages of dahlias. Hence the winter breakfast in my lawns, wallowing in the wrap of the warm sun, it has told me the life cycle of the dahlias to loosen flames from its spawns. The vision affects my gaze. The vision affects my gaze cast upon a senile dahlia, discolored, its petals wrinkled into a gloomy mass. It is just about to part with the plant. It is just about to part with the plant. I am swung into a curious melancholy. A sigh escapes. A sigh escapes. Ah, not long it will last. The vision shifts from youth to infirmity. My gaze turns frantic, sweeping along the row of the flowers, myriad and motley. I search for the dahlia that perfectly pairs with a man of 45. So the poet here, see how the poet finds resonance. He is a man of 45, which is the actual poem at that time. When I wrote the poem, I was 45. So how I am looking for the dahlia that perfectly pairs with me. That is how it is. Thank you.
I found your collection. Basically, the collection is described as having humanitarian themes. So, where do you see compassion, empathy, or social awareness in the poems?
You know, empathy, I believe, is the soul of literature. Whether you are writing a fiction or a poet, ultimately it has to find the connect with the readers. That is what literature is. So empathy, begins from the very moment a creation is, conceived in your mind. Coming to your specific question about social, justice, yes. Yeah, I think empathy is I call empathy as the mother of all the virtues. If you are compassionate, you are good. You can relate to the sufferings of others. You can relate to the pain of others. So that is the basic goodness. So empathy is the cardinal virtue of, for man. And many of my poems explore this theme of social, of justice. One of my poems I would like to recite here. It is again born of the actual sight as a young, officer way back. I think it had been written years back. Way back, I happened to be just going to the market for some shopping, and then my gaze gets gravitated to the sight of a beggar. So that imagery, just I will recite the poem, and you see the power of imagery. Very small poem, but I would like to draw your attention to the last line, that symbol that completely amplifies what the poet wants to say. So here goes the poem, The Beggar. It was included in the International Library of United States also. So this is the poem, The Beggar. Here goes the poem, A beggar, limbless, armless, the fragments barely clad, the begging ball tied to one of the arms. He rolls over the pathway along the garment shops. He rolls over the pathway along the garment shops and stomachs out a cacophonous score. And stomachs out a cacophonous score. His voice is getting drowned into the clatter of stones. His voice is getting drowned into the clatter of stones raining into his empty bowl. So, these are the hearts actually, stones. The clatter of stones means these depict the human hearts that are devoid of compassion. And the poet can see his empty ball like nothing is there, no coin is there in the ball. So that is why a poet says it is like stones raining into his empty ball. Yeah.
Okay, so in this very poem, The Beggar, you mentioned the sound of stones in an empty bowl. It's a powerful image. It is a powerful image. But can you just elaborate what emotions does this evoke? And what might it symbolize about society?
Each and every line of a poem has to be, really, that is, for a poetry, it is called, brevity is the soul of wit. But I call brevity is one of the hallmarks of good poetry also. When I say, I would like to draw your attention to another symbol in this poem. Stomachs out a cacophonous score. You must have, it is a very common sight, the beggars, singing aloud in order to draw the attention, attract the attention of the passers-by. Stomachs out means what? It is not sung from the throat, it is coming from the stomach, hunger. So that is what the image, poet captures. So that is another powerful symbol here. And it evokes what? It evokes, empathy, it evokes compassion, and ultimately, at a broader level, it somewhere tries to stir that chord of, human chord within you. Because being a human is different from being humane. Not every human is humane. That is the basic function of literature. It fosters human values. It fosters human values. So these are the pieces of literature that foster human values, and that is the most fundamental function of literature, I believe.
Mukul Kumar is a civil servant by profession. How might your life experiences influence the perspectives or themes in your poetry? Because being a civil servant is a very different job, and simultaneously you're a poet. How it influenced the perspectives?
Art is born of the fertilization between the experiences and imagination. And imagination completely transformed those experiences into something altogether a different entity. By way of being a civil servant, naturally, it is my job. I keep coming across a variety of experiences. Civil services offers you a wider variety of experiences because you are dealing with almost different strata, almost all the strata of society, right from the people who are downtrodden to the corporates and to the rich people and to even the political. You have got the interface with the political domain also. So it offers a variety. Naturally, it enriches me as not only as a person, but enriches me as a poet also. These are the fodders for my creativity. Somehow. But here I would like to recite a small poem which I wrote. How at times in the rush of the job you tend to ignore the call of poetry at your heart. And one night I came, again it is very, this is the experience which I actually went through. And this poem is titled, The Poet Rebukes the Bureaucrat. कवि जो है वो ऑफिसर की डांट लगाता है. This is the title of the poem. And what the poet says to the man, ये उसका डायलॉग है, वो मैं आपको सुनाता हूँ. It is a very long poem. But I would just recite a couple of stanzas which bring out the contrast between the sensibility of a bureaucrat and the sensibility of a poet. I am picking this poem from the middle. The poet continues its reproach. The poet continues its reproach. I am a creature. Now the poet is talking. I am a creature with a surging heart, an untamed mind, a spontaneous consciousness and free lips. I am a creature with a surging heart, an untamed mind, a spontaneous consciousness and free lips. I recollect in tranquility the overflow, the feelings in their spectral hues, and tell them to the world with an echoing symphony. This is the poet. And you are. Now the poet is talking to a bureaucrat, trying to show him the mirror. You are a bureaucrat, a monolith, a monochrome, with a draped heart, a molded mind, a cultivated consciousness, and tailored lips. Well trained in the art of stoicism and status quo, you are immune to the overflow, cap your feelings, controlling the cup and color, and tell them to the world with a calculated confidentiality. This is what a bureaucrat is, You have to completely be your public persona is absolutely different from what so it beautifully brings out the contrast between the poet and the bureaucrat.
Very nice. Beautifully depicted the struggle between the professional duties and your passion for poetry. Okay, Mr. Kumar, I was going through your poems and I found the poem titled Kashmir. And recently India faced Pahalgam attack. So can you please recite that poem for our audience?
Yeah, I think I recited it just a few
And
days
what was
back.
your thoughts back then when you have wrote this poem Kashmir?
Yeah, actually, these poems came out when terrorism in Kashmir was at its peak, you know. And nobody could escape. If you are really sensitive, I think the issues cannot escape your sensibility, especially the sensibility of an artist. So I would like to recite a couple of poems. So one of the poems is on Kashmir. It is titled Kashmir, very small poem. Again, this entire poem plays out on the basis of symbol. And another poem came out of me post 26 by 11 terror attack. So I would like to recite. And this poem which came out after 26 11 terror attack, I think it must be echoing the patriotic feelings of the entire countrymen, I believe. First, Kashmir. It is like, poet gazing at a beautiful piece of art that depicts natural beauty of Kashmir. It is a piece of Kashmir painted, you can say. And poet happens to be, looking at this piece of painting. On this exhibited miniature, I could not appreciate the pristine brown of the earth, the exquisite blue of the waters, the sublime green of the flora, the celestial azure of the sky, recreated to perfection. I also see, this last, I would like to draw your attention to the last, couple of lines. I also see the translucent red film. I also see the translucent red film that is smeared all over but is missing from the frame. So that symbolizes the blood bath in Kashmir. So that is how it is. Yeah. And another poem is titled
Terrorism.
Yeah, terrorism. This poem is titled "Silence is Not Peace," hyphenated 26 by 11. Silence is not peace, hyphen 26 by 11. So here goes the poem. Threat, fear, agony, blood, scream, silence, 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 and silence. It explodes into screams, but to be wearied into silence yet again. Silence is not always peace. Silence is not always peace. Sanity in silence is no more affordable. Stares into the face the spectre of the incessant stream of screams. Stream of screams means it continues. It continues to inflict misery upon men. Stares into face the spectre of the incessant stream of screams. History has witnessed creations seeded into cataclysms. Let the voice be bestowed at once. Let the voice be bestowed at once that pronounces peace, not silence.
I remember, as you said, silence, silence, silence. I remember there is a poem, The Loneliness. The Loneliness?
Yeah.
In your anthology, there is a poem, The Loneliness.
What's the title?
The Loneliness.
The Loneliness.
The Loneliness. Okay, yeah. So, which talks about silence and unspoken words.
Yeah, that is the personal poem that captures what emotions arise in a man who finds himself suddenly absolutely lonely, cut off from the world. So, and for a poet, loneliness, for an artist rather, loneliness is different from solitude. But not every time loneliness gets metamorphosed into loneliness. So this captures that sad aspect, that gloomy aspect of loneliness. This is the poem.
So how you convey feelings of isolation?
So
And can you relate to this portrayal?
so loneliness you saw in this poem. Okay, I think it was in the Rhythm of the Ruins or what?
Okay, so you just convey your feelings of isolation.
Loneliness
Because you are a poet.
Yeah.
So how isolation has actually, did isolation played a major role in your poetries?
Isolation, when I say writing is always a lonely venture, You can't be amidst crowd, and the most beautiful aspect of a literary sensibility is that you can find yourself lonely even amidst crowd. That is what happens to an artist. You suddenly, get completely your connections with the world are instantly snapped, and you find yourself lonely. But that loneliness in no time, as I told you, metamorphoses into solitude and certain emotions. Again, Robert Frost, certain emotions, gripping you, and those emotions are in a nebulous state. Melancholy again sets in, and again thoughts, words. That is how the journey goes. So, and for writing, you have to get secluded from, your daily life. Your daily life, when I say your daily life subsumes the people around you also, even your family, your friends, the context of your job, that somewhere during that process of creation, you are not connected with anybody, you are just connected with your soul. So that for an artist, it is very rather crucial to enjoy one's own company, otherwise you cannot create.
Very nice, very nice. So do you feel the poems offer a sense of relief or healing to the reader? As the title suggests, catharsis.
Catharsis, I think I've recited that poem, Catharsis. No?
Yeah. Okay, fine. So, are there references to nature, art, or spirituality in these poems?
Yeah, nature. I told you, nature will unconsciously creep into a piece of art. Like I recited a poem, Dahlia of 45. What is nature? Nature is the eternal inspiration for me. But since you have raised this with the issue of nature, so nature plays out for me especially at two levels, because I believe, as far as I have been able to know myself, my sensibility. Before I am a poet, before I am a fiction writer, I am a philosopher. And for a philosopher, life is an eternal muse. And nature plays out at two levels. At first level, I have already explained to you. It offers those imageries, those similes, those metaphors. And second, if you happen to stay at nature, your gaze happens to stay at nature for a while, you are instantly guided to the divinity. Or you are flooded with all sorts of questions in your mind. Who has created this order? Such a wondrous order, with such a scientific rhythm going on and on. That is what you call eternity. So nature guides you, connects you with that eternity. So that is at a deeper level. So nature is everywhere for a poet, and for me, I have written quite some poetry, though other philosophical also. In fact, Rhythm of the Ruins, that is a collection that is predominantly philosophical. You want me to recite a poem?
Yes.
So let me look for a poem. I have not chosen one, so it might take.
I think the Dahlia.
My Dahlia I have already recited. So. Serenity, silenced, I think I can. One small poem, like how the perception of nature changes. Very small poem, but I think you can connect, with this poem. A very short one. My moon is lost. My moon is lost. I would love to recite this poem.
I told you.
Okay, I will recite that.
Yes, please do.
Yeah. So first, my moon is lost. Hardly 8-line poem, 8 lines poem. The silvery hue from the radiant moon The silvery hue from the radiant moon, but it no longer dispels the darkness over inner horizon. But it no longer dispels the darkness over inner horizon. Alas, if my moon were not blown out by one ambitious head and two strong feet. So you see, I was explaining to you how nature connects with you with eternity. But here the poet is looking at the moon, and moon means that the celestial aura of moon is suddenly gets lost to him, because in 1969 Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, and the moment a particular celestial thing gets human access, I think man is able to access that sense of eternity and sense of divinity is lost. So here the poet is lamenting that how the silvery hue radiant from the radiant moon no longer dispels his darkness over inner horizon.
And also the loneliness.
Loneliness you wanted me to recite. I think this poem echoes the feelings of all of us somewhere. I think at some stage we find ourselves this lonely. Loneliness. Can you decipher the silence? Can you decipher the silence abuzz with the unspoken words? Can you smell the presence of those who are absent? Can you understand the language the creases of my bed speak? Can you read my mind from the impressions over my pillow? Can you map the doors embedded with my eyes? Can you discern on the walls the unreal friezes I see? Can you estimate in my intoxicated eyes the blackness of the night? Can you scale the incarcerated ambitions my yawns fume out? Can you catch from my ears the cacophonous breaths reverberating therein? Can you discern night my morning carries? Can you discern night my morning carries? Only then can you measure my loneliness. Only then can you measure my loneliness.
I think I have made you recite many poems, but I really want you to choose a poem in this collection which resonated most with you. There might be one which actually resonates the most. And what feelings did it evoke?
It is very difficult for the mother to decide, which child is dearest like that. But I have already, I think, a part of your question I have already explained. Like before, I am an writer. I am a philosopher. So for a philosopher, the most cardinal, the most crucial muse is what? Life. Uncertainties of life. First uncertainty, from where have we come? We can't know. Albert Camus, the great philosopher, says, the greatest tragedy happening to man is that he will keep seeking answers from the silent universe. He will keep seeking answers to the questions that he knows those questions can never be answered. So that is what he called absurdism. So absurdism, Albert Camus is my favorite philosopher, and absurdism is one of the school of philosophy that resonates with my sensibility. So uncertainty of life, of course, but I would like to recite a poem titled "Life: A Fatuous Frenzy." And here in this particular poem, I am trying to depict how for God, it is just the imagination of the poet, that how for God it is just an sport. It is a sport to, replenish, I think, first, remove, certain, a portion of the mankind, and then replenish it. The cycle of birth and death, goes on and on and on. So this is the poem, Life: A Fatuous Frenzy. I will go slow, with this poem, because I want you to just relate to each and every line of this poem. What it actually, I think you will be able to relate to it, very easily and instantly. I am the volume transfigured out of the ether. Ether is like this space. And for conveying eternity, we always tend to raise our hands to sky, this space, that nothingness. I am the volume transfigured out of the ether to thrive in this garb, that is body. I am the volume transfigured out of the ether to thrive in this garb. Set afloat is the buoyant garb. Set afloat is the buoyant garb, the force and fury known in the child, in the possession of the cherished. It unfurls itself. It unfurls itself, a sensuous smugness, displaying its colors and contours, amassing pride and plaudits, a frenzied venture. A frenzied venture, alas. Now this is like life. When we live, we don't realize that we have to die one day. Amassing pride and plaudits, a frenzied venture, we just go on and on. Alas, now coming to the end, alas, if this fatuous frenzy were just not an ephemeral import, sucked back to replenish the reserve, it is the frenzy of the whole, that is the God. It is the frenzy of the whole for sporting identities. Identities are shifting. That is how it's going.
Well, I found your poems are noted for the very simple style, yet profound language. So, how does this style influence your understanding and enjoyment of the poems?
A poet never chooses a particular style that he if it doesn't decide that, he or she doesn't decide that, okay, this is the style in which it is such an organic and unconscious process. Initially, I would like to share a very interesting experience with you. When as a child, I was scribbling a few verses sitting in a quiet corner in the classroom, during my recess, or you can say whenever I got some leisure. Then as early I grew up, their journey of verses continue. I continued scribbling. Even as a college boy, there was the diary. I was scribbling a few verses, keeping it to my own self, because that is the stage where you are not confident how it will go out to the world. It is your private, it is your private world. So when I started my journey, so I was a little, the poem I used to read, like modern poetry is different from, the medieval poetry, you can say, or pre-modern poetry, you can say. Those were lyrical, those were musical. And modern poetry was written in the blank verse, in the free verse. A poet don't bother, if it doesn't bother about the meters and the rhymes. Just it comes out of you and you give words to your thoughts. So when I started writing, it happens that I thought in terms of publishing my, first collection. I was not confident. I was a diffident poet. I was very tentative how it will go out. My father was a teacher of English. He taught English literature in university. So he was the first reader. मैंने उसको बहुत hesitance के साथ दिखलाया कि ये देखिए मैंने लिखी हैं इतने दिनों तक ये कैसी कविताएं होंगी. So my father being, because he was a man of literature, so his feedback coming to me was very crucial, I think. Plus I was not shy also because he was my father. So he told, no, these are really good, and he gave us, certain suggestions also. This is, but your symbols, imageries, and this is altogether, it will go out well to the readers, it will go well out to the world. And believe me, after that, this journey started. Coming to my style, since she has read this style, my language is like very simple, and thoughts are profound. So I have always believed that, for an artist, the real victory in telling uncommon things in a common language. So that has come consciously to me. And still, I can't say that I'm a poet, because when I look at my poetry, I feel it is poetic prose. Prose poetry, you can say. That is altogether a different genre. But then I am lucky that I am born in the times when nobody bothers about the format of poetry. A piece of art is a piece of art. It should create beauty. The purpose of the art, what is the most of the poets are of the opinion, or artists of the opinion, the ultimate purpose of the art is to create beauty. Oscar Wilde says it is the primary function of art to create beauty. You create beauty out of sufferings, you create beauty out of ugliness. Many poems I have written on the theme of poverty, where very ugly sides I have captured. And those sides, when they assume the artistic shape, they read so beautiful, they look so beautiful. So I have never been conscious about my style, I am just going on and on.
So you think that you're trying to comment on the way we live today? Through your poems, you're trying to comment on the way we live today?
I'm not able to hear you properly.
Okay. Through your poems, you are trying to comment on the way we live today.
On the way we live
live
today, okay, modern sensibility you can say. I
Yes,
think
modern life reflections.
modern times, alienation you can say, alienation from the, I can't exactly recall since I have not reflected on that aspect. One of the topical themes like a very small poem again, I opened and that is there. That is why I am reciting. I have not decided that I would recite. So coming to our current times, I have captured the theme of female feticide. And when I was preparing for civil services, so it was one of the burning issues, declining male to female ratio. Especially in the state of Haryana, where female feticide is still there. There are a couple of more states where female, feticide. Haryana was grappling with this issue till late. So this is the poem that we claim that we have become modern, but it is a slur on, the humanity that we are, as a society, we are still grappling with it. Missing men. The title is Missing Men. Missing women was the phrase. No, you must be able to recall missing women, like all those, like female feticide happened, and those, women missing from the population. So that was the phrase, missing women. So now I have titled my poem, Missing Men. The census, population census, the census conveys concern. The census conveys concern over the declining female to male ratio. The census conveys concern over the declining female to male ratio between the conception of an exalted existence. औरत तो देवी होती है, हमने बना दिया exalted existence. Between the conception of an exalted existence and the reality of the social marginalization. And the reality of the social marginalization lie a few missing women or a few missing men. Few missing men here symbolizes the spiritual death of the men who are still inflicting all this upon women. और हम लोग रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में बोलते हैं वो तो लक्ष्मी होती है, बेटी लक्ष्मी होती है, देवी होती है, और औरतें ये हैं वो हैं, और देखिए यहाँ पर ये हो रहा है.
Okay, I noticed in your poems that some of the poems feel very peaceful, while others feel intense or sad. Why you have chosen this contrast, or what is your take on this the way you have given the contrast in your poems?
Contrast.
Yeah, contrast.
Contrast, like a contrast. Now I will, on a lighter note, I will tell. Contrast is very dear to my heart, and contrast is an artistic accessory also for me. Oxymoron, you can say, oxymoron. Oxymoron is pairing, like darkness illuminates desire. It is one of my, I have used this sentence in one of my, novels. Darkness illuminates desire when you go to bed at night and the day is extinguished and you get connected with your soul. What are your dreams? Your inner desires, your inner dreams, they are illuminated. The moment you switch off the light, the darkness illuminates light. So like this contrast, oxymoron is one of my favorite accessories. Instantly, if you ask me to, recite a poem, I won't be able to recite because I have not, selected one. But many of my poems are like they are based on this theme of contrast. They bring out the contrast in different ways.
Yeah, because you have the poem, you have one poem, The Beggar, and again you have a poem of nature, art, and spirituality.
Yeah. a quick look at the index if I can find something like contrast. I think most of the poems, I think the theme-wise, we have already dealt. If you ask me to recite a poem, like it, how much time are we left with?
Like
Abhi hai
5
time?
minutes.
Abhi time hai, huh? एक poem सुनाता हूँ, though it doesn't directly related to your question. Oxymoron, contrast, I have already explained कि how many of my poems. हाँ, contrast, एक contrast मिला. Air is morbid. Air is morbid and again explores that theme of terrorism. और इसमें the contrast ये है कि like where this it is a terror-stricken scene. The poet is capturing a terror-stricken scene. And that particular scene, first I would like to recite the poem and then I would explain it. Air is morbid, 61. Yeah, exactly, I think I found what you just wanted to convey. Air is morbid. Yet again the same scene at this square. Maybe a square in Kashmir, Lal Chowk. Yet again the same scene at this square, the hissing haze, the furious fumes. It simmers down to the customary throngs of the flashes and the sirens. Police, media and all things started. It simmers down to the customary throngs of the flashes and the sirens, ambulance and police. That's what it is depicted here. Floats to the fore the scene just before. Floats to the fore the scene just before men exploded into parts many. Men exploded into parts many, smeared in blood, falling with a tormenting thud. The macabre haze of destruction and dust. The macabre haze of destruction and dust strike awfully, flanking the scene. Now see the contrast. This last para scene, brings out the contrast of this scene. What is actually happening and the surrounding. Strike awfully, flanking the scene. Three huge hoardings. They boasted of a friendly health insurance, a super specialty hospital, a new free health care policy. So these are the hoardings that terror-stricken scene. Air is morbid. While you are talking about ensuring life, and here air itself is morbid, death is in the air. Thank you.
Very nice. Very, very nice. So, Mr. Kumar, as many people are sitting here and there are many youngsters, so what do you think after reading this Catharsis, what do you think poetry can do for them?
I have written, I think, in this blurb only, it heals the wound inflicted by reason. That is the function, that is the way poet goes out to the readers. You are transported into a different world. You are connected with beauty. You are connected with soul. So that is what poetry, especially poetry. Poetry is the crown of literature. Somerset Maugham says, because it is the reflection somewhere. It is the most palpable reflection of your soul as an artist. Because I'm a fiction writer, so I can very well, I'm well aware of the distinction between, fiction and poetry. Poetry comes in a flash to you. And like John Keats, says, poetry should come to a poet as leaves come to the trees. So that is what, poetry is for me. And as to the audience, I think I would like to recite a poem here. And I think for the change of mood also, a Hindi poem of mine.
Yes, please.
A Hindi poem of mine. Or it again conveys a message, as you told, that it conveys the message of hope. And as a writer, as a poet, I feel that is the message I should be spreading around, hope, and hope amidst all this madness. So this poem is a title. And from literature you draw like beauty, and besides that, you draw like the message of human endurance also. that in spite of all the ordeals, in spite of all the trials and tribulation, the endurance of the human life, how man keeps surviving. So this poem is titled एतबार है तो इंतजार है. एतबार है तो इंतजार है. If I have hope, then I will wait. So here goes the poem. मैं सूर्योदय का कायल हूं. मैं सूर्योदय का कायल हूं. पूरब क्षितिज का की स्वर्णिम लालिमा. नेचर को भी कैप्चर कर रहा है कहीं ना कहीं. मैं सूर्योदय का कायल हूं. पूरब क्षितिज की स्वर्णिम लालिमा. उगते सूरज की प्रज्वलित शीतलता. प्रकृति में लौटता हुआ अद्वितीय रंग. भोर का नवीनता से श्रृंगार. इसके प्रतिबिंब से आप्लावित होता हुआ मेरा अस्तित्व. You know, in the awe of dawn, सूर्योदय. इस शाश्वत की महिमा में लय सतत सम्मोहक सनातन. इसकी प्रतिध्वनि से झंकृत होती हुई मेरी सुषुप्त चेतना. उम्मीद की राख हो चलती अंगार. नई ऊर्जा का संचार. उम्मीद की राख हो चलती अंगार. नई ऊर्जा का संचार. नए कूच की झंकार. नवीकृत हो उठती मेरी शख्सियत. रुमानी हो उठती ये रुजानियत. How nature stirs man. पर आज here comes the gloom. Here comes the gloom. पर आज सूर्योदय क्यों नहीं हुआ. पर आज सूर्योदय क्यों नहीं हुआ. न वो प्रतिबिंब, न प्रतिध्वनि, न ही वो नवीनता. अब है ये सताती हुई स्तब्धता. बुझती हुई राख. ये फैलता हुआ गहराता अंधेरा. बोझिल होता हुआ मेरा वजूद. थमे हुए मेरे कदम. एक रुकी हुई यात्रा. All of us feel somewhere gripped with a sense of stillness. Suddenly you stop connecting with the world in a state of gloom. थमे हुए मेरे कदम. एक रुकी हुई यात्रा. फिर आज सुबह से शाम हो चली. मेरा सूरज नहीं निकला. सुबह शाम में तमाम होती रहीं. सूर्योदय का इंतजार खत्म न हुआ. अब पश्चिम क्षितिज को मेरी डूबती निगाहें निहारती रहती हैं. अब पश्चिम क्षितिज को मेरी डूबती निगाहें निहारती रहती हैं. मेरे गुमशुदा सूरज को तलाशते हुए. मेरे गुमशुदा सूरज को तलाशते हुए. पर मेरी भोर को सूरज का अब भी इंतजार है. क्योंकि एतबार है तो इंतजार है. क्योंकि एतबार है तो इंतजार है.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Do we have any questions from the audience? You.
Good afternoon, sir. I just have to say one thing, that I resonate a lot with you. I'm author myself and a poet, and currently preparing for UPSC.
बेटा सामने आ जाओ. आपका माइक is not I think.
Sorry.
You take.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. I just have to say that I'm really grateful to meet you and to listen to your poetry. I'm poet myself and an author, but what resonates more is I'm still preparing for UPSC, given a few attempts, and I just wonder sometimes that whether I should carry on with my dream of UPSC and give exams and get into services, or just be an author or a poet and just delve in the world of arts and romance and literature. But seeing you and saying the words, like, it gives you perspective about life, the bigger spectrum that one say, the bigger hue about things, and it just made me like the journey worth taking and the risk worth taking. So thank you so much, sir.
I think she has taken me back to my younger days. I was also torn between this artistic sensibility and the aspiration, my ambition for UPSC. Somewhere that passion, and after failing in my first attempt, I was preparing myself mentally कि if I don't get through, should I be taking that line? But people warned me, art, the field of art, doesn't give you instant success normally. It happens very rarely at that young age. So first, I think you have to ensure that means of survival for you. The means of survival is a job like. But I was fiercely focused on my ambition for civil services. I have to do it. And I was a man of grit, so I would love to advise you that while you have given a couple of attempts, I think the greatest thing the greatest thing a man can do is to ensure that he or she feels satisfied with his endeavor, with his efforts, with his or her efforts. So if you feel like I kept appearing for civil services, I got through in my second attempt also, but finally in my third attempt. And those circumstances were very adverse, like right sizing of bureaucracy, seat getting halved, and all sorts of things were happening. So I was caught up in that state of uncertainty. But I would like to advise you, like if you are aspiring for civil services, people, the young lot keep seeking my advice. इसका मूल मंत्र एक ही है, जुनून. जुनून के बिना ये इम्तिहान नहीं निकलता है. तो अगर पागलपन है, जुनून है, तो ठीक है. और your dilemma, I can very well appreciate कि your dilemma is like art is also attracting you somewhere. But first, I would like to give a very practical advice to you. कि means of survival in life, means of livelihood. And livelihood, UPSC is not just livelihood, it's a dream. It in itself is a dream, aspiration. Keep pursuing your aspirations, till the point of time you realize that I have given my best. I could not have bettered myself. So you have to reach that stage. Till that stage, I believe you keep trying for it. And carry, who has stopped you? I am sharing my own journey. I have already shared with you. It's not that just for framing my advice to you. I am saying this. I think a while back I shared how as a young boy, college boy, I was scribbling verses. So continue this journey of art on while keeping an eye on your practical side of life also. So I think you can bridge up the two very well.
Yes, yes. No, please.
First of all, heartiest congratulations on all the creative work which you've put out for the readers, Mukulji. My question is a little, it's a universal question in a way, and it is a little personal also. Generally, the perception is that art, or especially poetry, it's an outpouring of your own personal, very deep, sensible thoughts or emotions. Why would you put it out for the world to, and what prompts you to put it out to the world, to share it with the world outside?
I'm missing the name of a very famous literature who defined poetry. He has defined poetry in 5 words. It is making the private world public. And why you want to make public? Yes, of course. I think indirectly I have answered it. Like, purpose of art is to create beauty ultimately. Oscar Wilde says that the most fundamental function and the moment you create something, the moment that creator is switched off, then passion, the journey of passion ends there, and the journey of ambition begins. You want the beauty, piece of beauty that you have created to be admired, to be appreciated. That is a very, very inherent human need, to be admired and appreciated. So it is making the private world public, but when you write till it is in your diary, it is yours only. But somewhere, the moment you close your diary, that ambition, passion, journey of passion ends, and ambition is born. Okay, let it go out to the readers. Let people connect with you. Let me seek some admiration, and let the emotions of the reader echo my sensibility somewhere. So that is the perfect consummation, you can say. That is the point of consummation when you create and your creation is appreciated. So I believe art and applause, this makes the literary journey complete.
Yes.
नमस्कार सर, मेरा नाम आशीष कुमार झा है. Currently I am pursuing journalism. बिहार से हूँ तो सर साहित्य और यूपीएससी दोनों विरासत में है। मेरी मतलब एक ये बात है कि मैं भी लिखता हूँ, लेकिन आपने जैसे कहा कि कॉलेज डेज़ में आप भी लिख के छुपा देते थे, तो अभी मेरे वही दिन चल रहे हैं। सर लेकिन कभी कभी ये होता है ना कि जिम्मेदारी का एहसास आता है आपके पास, और आपकी कला और जिम्मेदारी दोनों के बीच में द्वंद्व होता है। तो सर क्या वो द्वंद्व कभी कला का जननी हो सकती है? वो द्वंद्व कभी कला की जननी बन सकती है?
अभी मैंने आपको एक जो कविता सुनाई है वो द्वंद्व पे सुनाई है। द्वंद्व पे इस स्टेज पर भी मैं उस द्वंद्व से मुक्त नहीं हुआ, आप कभी मुक्त नहीं होंगे। एक कलाकार हैं तो आप द्वंद्व से मुक्त कभी नहीं होंगे, ये बात बिल्कुल तय समझिए। यूपीएससी उन्होंने पूछा, मैंने तो यूपीएससी भी किया, लिख भी रहा हूँ, फिर भी वो जॉब और हमारा जो प्रोफेशन और पैशन है वो कहीं ना कहीं करता है। और उसी द्वंद्व पर तो मैंने कविता सुना दी आपको कि वो कि कैसे वो डांट रहा है, पोएट जो है वो ब्यूरोक्रेट को डांट रहा है कि तुम मुझे इग्नोर कर रहे हो, यू आर इग्नोरिंग मी। सो इस द्वंद्व को एंजॉय करिए। और मैं आपको वन मोर थिंग आई वुड लाइक टू शेयर फ्रॉम दिस प्लेटफॉर्म विद एवरीवन whosoever aspires to write, whosoever aspires to take up literature, gets into the creative journey, कि conflicts और conflict resolution, enjoy the conflicts, वही आपका fodder है, that is your fodder. That is the fodder for creativity. Creativity का जो fodder है वो pain है, suffering है, conflict है, contradictions है. Otherwise that your sensibility will not be fostered. That artistic sensibility can never be fostered. The pain that P.B. Shelley says, sweetest are the songs that tell of saddest thoughts. So why do you want to get rid of this conflict? Learn to reconcile to this conflict, reconciliation to the contradictions, reconciliation to the this conflict. That is what will make you an artist. That is what will make you a literature.
Yes, we will take one last question only. Yes, ma'am.
सर मैं नीतू निर्झर झारखंड से हूँ, मैं भी लिखती हूँ सर। तो आपने कहा कि कवि के क्या भाव होते हैं, कैसे वो लिखता है, उस पर मैं 4 लाइन आपको बोलना चाहती हूँ कि कवि हूँ मैं, लिखती हूँ मैं कविता, कवि हूँ मैं, लिखती हूँ मैं कविता, कब लिखती हूँ कैसे लिखती हूँ जानती है केवल मेरी कविता। कितना मुश्किल होता है कवि होना, कितना मुश्किल होता है कवि होना, सबको बताना पड़ता है कि लिखती हूँ मैं कविता। और सर आपने स्त्री के बारे में लिखा, बोल रहे थे कि स्त्री बंधी हुई है, उस पर 4 लाइन है। स्त्री का तन, स्त्री का मन, स्त्री का धन सब बंधे हुए हैं। स्त्री का तन, स्त्री का मन, स्त्री का धन सब बंधे हुए हैं स्त्री होने के बंधन में ही। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone.